Welcome to Lifting Leaders Podcast, where we explore what it means to lead with courage, clarity, and heart in a world that's asking more of us than ever before. I'm Crystal Roberts.
And I'm Tricia Ryan. Together, we have over 70 years' experience helping leaders to thrive.
This year, we're focusing on something both simple and powerful. Light the spark, ignite genuine hope, and lead the change.
Because leadership doesn't begin with having all the answers. It begins when someone is willing to notice what's possible, to name what needs to change, and to take one brave step forward.
Whether you're leading a team, an organization, a community, or simply yourself, this year is an invitation to lead with intention, to stay human, and to believe that your actions matter.
So we invite you to take a breath, lean in, and let's begin.
Hi, Tricia. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, actually. I just had a laughing jag, and I'm over it now. So, yeah, good. How about yourself?
I'm good.
Are you?
I'm good. Yeah, we're
lots of energy today.
Yeah, lots of energy today. We're having fun. We're experimenting with some new things on the podcast, and so you might be noticing some of those. But that's what it's all about, right? Is
That's
trying
right.
something new. So we don't want to get old and stale. We've got a growth mindset around this stuff. So
We have to.
Yeah.
We have to. We're in season 5 right now. I think it's time to change a few things, don't you?
Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
All right.
yeah. So today is a gems episode.
Yes.
And we're really excited to actually unpack this just a little bit. And the gems was from our previous episode, which was number 166. I can't believe we're actually there, 166 episodes. That's
I know.
pretty crazy.
I know.
Yeah. And so we had this awesome conversation with Dr. Julie Pham about the 7 forms of respect and focused on the workplace. And we're really excited. She let us know last time that she's working now on doing the research around a second book, which is thinking about respect in our personal lives.
Right.
Yeah. And I really, after reading that book and listening to her, I really feel like even the concepts that she's talking about for the workplace, they actually do apply for our personal lives as well already.
I loved that interview with her. Her energy was infectious. I
Yeah.
really thought it was lovely the way she was actually unmapping some of these things. And I don't think I had ever really thought about the depth of respect before listening to her talk about it. And now it's all I can think about. I actually just did a coaching session the other day, and we talked a little bit about that whole concept.
Yeah.
And it sparked in one of my clients some ideas on something he'd like to do with one of his teams. And I thought, this is interesting. It's really, to me, it's high time, and especially right now, especially right now when we're having so much trouble trying to respect what's going on and the people, we don't know who to respect or what to respect them for,
Yeah.
And, Julie did such a great job of talking about how it is really, in some cases, hierarchical, and in other cases, not at all, right?
Yeah. It's really dependent on the individual.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was really interesting. And so one of the things that we are going to do today, actually, we're going to do 2 things. We took the quiz. There's a free quiz that you can take off of her website. So we're going to unpack that a little bit, what our results are. And then also we're going to talk a little bit about kind of a how to do
Yeah.
for leaders. If you've not ever done any kind of ground rules or working guidelines, we've got some easy steps that you can take to actually do that with your team. And so we hope that's really helpful. And even if you've done it before, it's always a good time to refresh those, check in on them, especially if you've had people join your group or have left. Every
Yes.
time that work group shifts, it's a good time to actually look at your working guidelines. So we're going to do both those things today.
Yeah, I'm going to just touch back on what you just said, because it's something that we practitioners have on our radar all the time. Whenever you take a new person into a team, it's really a good idea to have another team not necessarily a whole retreat, but have a team meeting, a longer day-long meeting or half-day meeting with your team so that they get a chance to talk about what is important to each of them, because a new member changes the dynamic.
Yeah.
And you don't want them to feel that they have to get on board or fail. You want them to have a voice too. And so it's really a great way to get everybody also knowing each other a little bit better.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. For sure. One of the things I felt was really interesting when she talked about this was, one, how individual it is. And so you can't assume anything.
Right.
But also that these 7 forms of respect, it's not that you're actually trying to achieve all of them, but the idea is that you're actually trying to be more self-aware about what's most important to you and what are your values around respect. And then that allows you to have better conversation and to express that to others. And then you can ask them what's important to them.
Right.
And kind of like what you can live with doing, what's core to you, and you won't compromise on those things.
Yeah, one key that I kept taking away from that discussion was the whole idea around being curious, staying curious about respect.
Yeah.
Asking yourself the questions, but also asking others, like what matters to you.
Yeah.
And looking in the mirror and asking yourself that question too, because that can really sometimes maybe even change the way you approach other people. If you're hoping that people will respect you, then you're going to want to speak or act in a way that sort of shows that, right? If you can't tell them. But I love the curiosity piece of it. That's one way to stay out of conflict a lot too.
Yes.
And I just think there's so much value to being curious in this world all the time.
Yeah, I totally agree. When we feel those emotions getting a little bit higher, or maybe things are getting a little bit tense, is to remember that, to kind of ground yourself a little bit and say, well, how can I get curious about this? And then also she was talking about how it's important to give ourselves grace, that we won't always be practicing respect. We want to, that's our goal, but sometimes we fail and then we have to go back and repair.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So we got curious,
Yeah.
right? We went on to Julie's website and scrolling down and down and down, because I was looking all over the place for it, and I just have too big a screen. I think my mind and my eyes got curious to look at just everything else. It's a really cool website.
Can you see what that website is?
Curiosity Based. It's www.curiositybased.com.
Okay. Great. Yeah, and it's a free resource. So she's got 2 versions of it. One is this free one, and then there's actually a one that you can order for your team that's really relatively low cost, I would say.
Yeah.
And so definitely worth to go the deeper dive. But this is fun this shorter free version is fun to spur conversation.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I didn't know what to expect because, we've not taken this assessment before, but I was pleasantly surprised to find that it really does kind of break down just based on some very simple questions, right?
Yeah, so what were your top forms of
I
respect?
had 3, there were 3 that stood out the most, I guess. One was punctuality, one was acknowledgement, and then another was procedure. How about you?
So before we move on to me, the top one that
I was so willing to move on.
I know, was punctuality.
Yeah.
And what I was like, oh no, because I'm always late to these sessions.
Yeah.
I do, if I have a client meeting, I am never late.
This just tells you how much priority I get in her life.
It was interesting because I thought, oh, maybe I want to really rethink that.
Yeah.
A lot of times when I'm late, it's because I'm trying to finish up, questions that we're going to be using that day to interview somebody. It's usually because I'm trying to produce a piece of work that we're going to need for our time together.
Well, and the other thing is you actually have your own business. And, a lot of times you have clients in the morning and it's not a big deal, you know?
Yeah.
I don't mind sitting around for hours on end waiting for you to show up. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
No, but I did find it really informative to know that was something that was the top on your list.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so, that's important.
It's funny because I didn't think that had carried over, in part of my values, but
Yeah.
I had a father who was in the Marine Corps, and his attitude was, if you are 5 minutes early, you are 10 minutes late, and so he always wanted us to be on time always. And so we always made sure that we left enough time to be early, even if we had to sit in the car or whatever, and then show up. He was just adamant about that. You just do not show up late. So
it's transferred to you.
I tend not to be late to things. However, now I'm starting to think maybe I should relax.
I don't know. I think it's just good to know, right? It's good for others to know about you. That's an important form of respect. And what's interesting, I just noticed, is that it says your top form of giving respect. So it's actually how you give it.
Yes. Well,
That being on time for you shows that you respect somebody else.
yes.
Yeah.
If they tell me it's 2:30, I'm going to be there at 2:30.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I had two, which were procedure and attention. So I thought that was really interesting. I mean, yes, it does actually make sense to me.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, okay, how are they defining procedure? And procedure was you feel most natural demonstrating respect by adhering to the established formal processes, as well as informal expectations, reading instructions, fulfilling requests as one asks. You defer to people's formal job title and role in the organization, and you may use honorifics because you feel it is protocol. And I think that's actually really true. When I'm in a work situation anyway, I do feel that those things are really important, that I follow the rules. I am a rule follower, unless I feel like I have permission to break the rules.
I worked for you for years, remember? And you definitely do put a lot of emphasis on that. And I appreciated it because there are so many leaders who that's not a real top priority for them for other reasons. They may have other things that are more important, but I appreciated it because being new in a local government setting, I had a lot to learn, and I learned about the procedures and things and what was important because it was a rule or a policy or something that we had to deal with and why. So I never had to question that.
Yeah.
You also you also had attention, and I thought, yes, that's very true too.
So attention is you feel most natural demonstrating respect by listening attentively, referring back to other people's comments to indicate you are listening, putting away possible distractions, not interrupting except to ask clarifying questions. You do not multitask, even if you know others wouldn't mind. Yeah, that is a really, being present is really a key value of mine.
That is absolutely you. I think they got you spot on. You always give people your attention. And when you're talking to them, even if you don't know what they're talking about, like it's a different topic from something that you're usually in, you always take something they said and bring it back and craft a new question to show that there's, an interest in more depth. And I love that about you. You do that so beautifully, and it's very natural. I don't even think you think about it.
Yeah, I think it is. For me, it is a way of showing respect that I've actually heard them. Yeah, and then tying that into something that I'm saying. As much as I can do that, I try and do that. I feel like it's an inclusive practice.
Yes,
so that
absolutely.
people feel like they've been heard and they're part of the discussion. And especially as a leader, I think that's really, really important.
Yes.
So that people don't feel like you're running off with their idea. That you've considered what they've said and it's integrated into what you're thinking. Yeah.
My second one, or my next top one, I only had two that were really, really high, and that was acknowledgement, which is that I feel most natural demonstrating respect by thanking people for their work, or even if they did what was expected, still treat them as if that was an accomplishment. That was a good thing to do. I like to give positive praise and recognize their contributions verbally, either publicly or in private. Whenever possible, I will acknowledge their requests, even if I can't fulfill them. And I think that for me, that's important because I don't want people thinking that I have every answer to everything. Sometimes I can't help, and I know I'm not a know-it-all for everything, right? But I want to give them enough respect to show them that, okay, this isn't my area of expertise, but I do know somebody who you might want to talk to, and let me ask them if they've got some bandwidth to talk to you about it, and then maybe we can have a 3-way conversation, and then I'll leave you to them, because I want them to feel that they're not alone in something.
Yeah.
So
I think that's something that I've actually learned. So my natural, I wonder if that's procedure. I don't know. My natural thing is to wait to make sure that I have the answer and I have the right answer. So it's probably a little bit of that, making sure I'm following the rules. Mm-hmm. So when I get an email in, it may sit for a couple of days or a week until I had the right answer. Then I would send it back. And I got some feedback on that. It's like, you take so long to get back to me. And it's like, well, I don't have the answer yet. I'm still researching it, or I'm waiting for somebody else to get back to me. So I don't have the answer to give to you. And they're like, well, at least just acknowledge that you received the email. Mm-hmm. And so I started doing that, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
How for people, especially that matters, they were like, fine. If I know it's going to take a week, it's no big deal. I won't have to think about it anymore. Right. I don't think you're ignoring me, or you didn't read it, or whatever.
Yeah, because otherwise they wonder if they sent it at all. To hit send, or is it in my draft? Yeah. But yeah. I think I have to do that because I used to work in an organization where that was absolutely required, and you had no more than 24 hours to get back with somebody, and they always would almost time the amount of time it took you to get back. And I always wanted to get back right away so that they knew I got it. Yeah. And I may not be able to look at something for a while, but I would tell them that, or I'd tell them what it was going to take sometimes to get that answer for them, just so they knew that it wasn't just sitting on my desk somewhere. I might have to go and talk to a couple of other people, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, it was about learning that getting back to somebody didn't mean getting back with the answer. It meant just the acknowledgement. Yeah. So that's where those conversations matter, right? I have this assumption going on in my mind that why would they want an email that just tells them that they're going to have to wait for an answer? Right. And to them, they're assuming, oh, she's ignoring me. So a conversation allowed us to create a practice between the two of us that sort of cleared that up. It set more clear expectations.
I love that you said that, and that does take me back to our conversation with Julie, and she did talk about assumptions. How we often will operate on assumptions. We assume people are understanding what we're saying, or that they're understanding, or they're okay with however we approach them. And that's not always true. I think that's how conflicts happen often, is that we think that if I'm treating you the way I like to be respected, but you're not on the same page, then I'm satisfying myself, but not you. Yeah. And that doesn't help. That doesn't help keep lines of communication open or anything like that.
Yeah. I was curious about your lowest scores.
Oh, let's see. Where did we go here? It's weird because they all were over half, but I had 3, which was information, candor, and attention.
I had information and candor too. So you want to take a look at the candor one? So essentially it's saying, because it says you feel most natural, so it'd be maybe you feel least natural, demonstrating respect by asking probing questions, offering constructive feedback, both solicited or unsolicited, bringing up opposing viewpoints, and pointing out mistakes and errors. You may express your dislike or displeasure with someone directly. And so what's interesting for me, I think I'm really good at the probing questions. I've always been good at that.
Yeah.
I've really honed that, obviously being a coach.
But I don't think this is least. I think that we are most comfortable or demonstrating or most natural demonstrating exactly what it says. It's just that not to the degree that we are most natural on the other
things.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like I don't think it's saying that we don't do that. I think we do very, very much do that. That we demonstrate. We find it very natural to demonstrate respect by asking those probing questions, because I think being coaches, it becomes something that is natural. But the part that you may express your dislike or displeasure with someone directly, and that's not something that I'm always as comfortable with. You're actually better at that than I am at, I think.
Really?
A lot. Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I have
It doesn't mean
discomfort
you're
around
comfortable.
that. Yeah. Yeah. And the point, bringing up opposing viewpoints
Yes.
and pointing out mistakes and errors. I know those are things. It depends on the situation. Mm-hmm. I would say actually through my coach training, I have gotten a lot better at that. Mm-hmm. And I'm a lot more comfortable and see it actually as a strength. We call it heat in coaching. Mm-hmm. Sort of reflecting back to people, giving them difficult feedback, difficult observations, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Where I'm okay if they're not happy with that.
No, because
that sounds not nice, but I do it in a kind way, and I do it always in service to their development. But it's definitely something that I've gotten a lot better at.
And you have to almost if you're a coach.
Yeah.
Because coaches don't have to have the answers for people. That's not our job. But it is part of our job to have people, maybe explore something differently than maybe they've been doing. And so sometimes that takes a bit of courage to say something that might not be so. It's always meant with kindness. I think not be so positive and fluffy or whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
And it's okay if somebody leaves feeling disturbed a little bit sometimes, because it's in that mix of how I feel about it and it's not resonating, that I sometimes find exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't want to say always, but most times people come back and appreciate that perspective that was shared with them, because they thought about it and they're like, yeah, I can see some truth in that. Mm-hmm. I can think in particular one client when I was just a baby coach and they were kind of upset with me when they left, and I probably didn't have as much finesse as I do now, but when they came back and we had this really heart-to-heart conversation, it did propel them to do something that they really needed to do, and it shifted their entire career.
Oh my.
It was a conversation they just really needed to have. Mm-hmm. And I think it was after that I realized the power of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've gotten better at that. I'm an internal coach. So sometimes, when you think about the culture and the microcultures within the organization, you have to be very careful how you tread sometimes, right? And so I've been getting probably bolder at that in the last few years, just to get moving beyond that stagnant space that you can get into mm-hmm. when people don't want to get uncomfortable, so they just kind of stick to this one area and you can't get past it. So I've gotten pretty good at saying, well, I think last time we were talking about, and we'll go into something that how it made me feel. Sometimes I'll just say how that resonated with me, and ask them to explore, how does that land with you, and see where it goes. And it's
the curiosity, right?
Staying
seated in that curiosity, but being willing to ask maybe the difficult questions. Yeah.
All right.
So that was candor.
Yes.
Yeah. This was really fun. I'm really glad that we took the time to do it.
It took 5 minutes. No more than 5 minutes. It was very easy, and what it spits back out, let's just say, is this great description, very short but great description, but then also what to do now, which I love.
Yeah.
They've got 6 bullet points on there, and it's things that they want you to ask yourself based on what you've just given them. So what experiences influence how you think about respect? that's a great question.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if we want to go into all the questions, but
I really love, I just want to point this one, which is actually the second part of that question you were reading. Who in your life has modeled how respect should and shouldn't look?
yes.
I'm just going to give a shout out here to one of the mentors in my life early on in my career, but that was Rosalie Walls.
Oh.
And she was at the Port of Seattle for many, many years, is a leader in the Indigenous community. And one of her superpowers was that ability to ask really good questions and have a lot of curiosity. And she never told people what to do. And people would come all fiery. She was the head of HR. And so they would come in there fiery. I don't, HR, blah, blah. And they're not allowing me to do whatever. And we would watch these people go into her office, like high level people. And I think when they left, they had no idea what happened to them.
That's good.
They were like champions
Yep.
of the policy or whatever it is that they needed to follow. And it was kind of funny because you could see the like almost bewildered look on their face, but the way she was able to do it in she was a very calm, quiet person, and she just was able to gently turn them around, and it was really funny to watch. She was really just magical at it. So anyway,
That's a wonderful
she
example.
modeled that respect to people. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are so many people that, when you think about in our lives who have had, been that model for respect. And that it could be anyone, but I noticed that sometimes people will always go to, or they go to celebrities because that's what they, it's easier than trying to look within, I have so many, too many to even talk about. I love connection with everybody, but I tend to keep my inner circle with people that I just have a profound respect for what they bring to the world. You are in my inner circle, you know that. My family, my family members are in my inner circle as well. Thankfully, I know that not everybody feels that way, and I have, probably a handful of other people that I would just kind of walk on coals for, because I think that they are the models of what I think respect should look like, right?
Yeah.
And I know that's my opinion, but they're pretty cool people.
Yeah. So we encourage you to go in there, take that quiz, go to the bottom of the quiz when you get your results back. As Trisha was talking about, those really cool questions. And I mean, you can really have these conversations with your family, but they're really meant for work. So this is good for peers. This is good for teams. Yeah, take some time out. Do one of those strategiically slow. Yes, moments, as Dr. Lindsay Godwin talked about in an earlier episode.
And as Carla Andrazik said, just do it.
Yeah, and just do it. Yeah.
You won't regret it, I don't think.
The outcomes are more engagement, better productivity, and people will want to be not only continue to work for your organization, so retaining good people, but also you get a reputation, right, of being a respectful place for people to come and work. And so you're going to get the best employees too.
Yes. Well, just the relationships are cool,
Just the relationships. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we're going to jump to developing working guidelines with your team. And we're just going to give you a few quick pointers. And of course, I shared the story in our podcast with Julie about when I was early in my career, when I would help groups develop their working guidelines. It was a facilitated process. I would just accept that one-liner of when they say, well, how are we going to work effectively together? Right. We're going to respect each other. And so this is a little more complicated than just saying we respect each other. This process of writing guidelines, that is really important.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is something that I do regularly. Whenever a group has new people in it, I recommend that we have a meeting, as I was talking about earlier, but that's what we talk about. And we check the vision. Is it still good? Do we need to make changes to that a little bit? And I think there's nothing wrong with changing your vision a bit. It doesn't have to be there forever. And if you ever achieve it, you didn't write a strong enough vision sometimes, I think, because I always see it as something that we aspire toward and that we work toward, but we may never quite make it there.
Yeah. So these working guidelines are also a living document.
Yes.
So you should be checking in and that sort of thing. So here's some just basic steps that you can take. And the first one is to set the intention. It's important that when we do this with our teams, that as the leader, that you really frame what's most important here and why are we doing it. And some words that you could use are things like, our goal is to make it easier to work well together, especially when things get busy or tense. And that's kind of the key. It's like when everything's flowing well, these working guidelines, we probably aren't actually looking at them. It gives us something to go back to when things are busy or tense.
Right.
They help us describe and name what good working looks like for us, our team.
Right.
That's what matters.
Yeah, and you may find it being very different on another team. It just depends on what is important, and that's the second one, really. Name the moments that matter. And in that sense, you're really talking about when we're doing our best work, when we are on our game, when we are that well-oiled machine, what's happening?
Yeah.
Right? What is going on?
And I really think that is so important. And you and I both, I know, really agree on this approach when we're doing, or we call this organizational development work.
Right.
Don't spend your whole time starting with what's broken.
Right.
Because then the whole energy in the room goes dark. And so what you want is people to be energized and talking about what works. And that's what your North Star is, is what works. What do we have to do to achieve when we're the best?
Right. And once you've done this whole thing, and we're going to go through all the rest of them, but once you've done it, you can always go back and say, okay, so what does it look like when this isn't happening?
Yeah.
What do we need to be mindful of, right?
Yeah.
So that we don't do that again.
So the third one is identify core categories. So once you've just done this free conversation around when we're at our best together, what's happening, what's working, then you look at how do we call that affinity grouping. And they usually fall into these sort of categories: communication, decision-making, accountability, conflict and feedback, inclusion and respect, and workload and boundaries. And so if you find that your list of stuff is missing one of those focus areas, you might actually poke at that a little bit. And then you might find out that it really isn't that important for your group, but it might be just something nobody really talked about. So you can use this a little bit as a check sheet, but have it come from the group first and then check it.
Because ownership matters, right? If they make it up, if your team makes up this list, then they own it.
Yeah.
And they'll have a lot more respect for it. They'll want to carry it forward and keep it going, because nobody wants to put their work out there and then have it fail, right? They're going to do their best work around it.
Yeah.
So the next one was co-create the guidelines. So what do we need from each other to do our best work?
Yeah.
So I always, when I'm doing this kind of work, often I'll say, so how are we going to hold ourselves up? How am I going to hold you accountable? How are you going to hold me accountable? How am I going to support you or jump in when you need help? And how are we going to recognize each other when we're getting it done? How are we going to keep each other going forward?
Yeah. And I think when we say something like, clear communication, getting the details. So
What does that look
just
like?
like when we were talking about the emails, it's like we expect that within 24 hours or I have a commitment that I'll make a commitment to you that within 24 hours, I will acknowledge your email and then state when I can get back to you on it.
Exactly.
Like those kind of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to get detailed here. So number 5 is test for clarity and courage. We want to pressure test these guidelines with questions like, can we see or hear this behavior now? Would a new team member understand this? I think that's a great question. So is it plain enough that somebody looking in on the group that wasn't part of this discussion actually would understand, what am I supposed to be doing here?
Yeah, it's like a fit test, right? I mean, it's like, are you willing to hold ourselves? Are we willing to hold ourselves up and each other, right?
Yeah.
And that's sort of what I was talking about before. How willing are we to do that?
Yeah. And then, does this support both results and relationships? Let's not forget about that relationship.
Yeah, because that's what this is all about. These are, some people call them guiding principles. Some people call them ground rules. Some people, you can call them anything you want. But it's, how are we going to work together? And the point is that we spend a third of our lives, if not more now, at work. And so while we choose our family most of the time, we choose the people that we want to be with, we don't always get a chance to choose our coworkers. That's why this is important.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. When I was thinking about this is the point after number 5, test for clarity and courage. Mm-hmm. That clarity really needs to be 100%, or at least as close to 100% as possible.
Yeah.
And I love to do an exercise where it's a human continuum, and everything from I don't understand this at all to I could explain it to somebody else. And you have people get on the continuum, and then you have a conversation about, for those people that aren't, I can teach it to somebody else. What is it that they need to move to that point? What conversation do we need to have to get to that clarity?
Right.
And till you get, and take the time and the space, even if you have to have another meeting, to get all those people, to get everybody to, I could teach it to somebody else.
I love that.
Yeah. And it's kind of a fun way to do it, because you can actually see the movement of the group.
Yeah.
Right. You can see, you'll probably start with most people with, I don't understand it. And hopefully at the end, you have most people that have moved all the way down the continuum.
It's interesting when you talk about that. I think about some of the other things that we do in the OD world, organizational development world, where we're trying to get people on board with certain concepts and thoughts. And it's always interesting to me, like when we're doing something like MBTI, and there are, those people that sit in, ISTJ or something like that, and then ENFPs are over here, and I know that I'm just throwing out acronyms, but what is it that somebody who's demonstrating introverted behaviors hears differently than somebody who is demonstrating extroverted behaviors? What is it that they are either not paying attention to because it doesn't matter for them, or it's, to me, there's that same thing where we're talking about what are differences. That would be a great exercise, though, to do for just about anything else, where just to get people at least hearing what the difference is.
Yeah.
So the next one was agree on use, not just words. And that's so important. Why would you go to the exercise of having people really, dig deep and give you those different steps that are important to them, including actions to support them, if you weren't going to work it, right?
Yeah.
And, I've heard people say, well, we'll just put it on our wall and everybody will see it every day and it'll matter. That'll matter. But it doesn't, because we've noticed, even in social media, that we get a lot of stuff hitting us every day, and at some point it's too much and we just stop looking. And when something's on a wall, I don't know about you, but I see it the first time when it's new, because it's different and it's like on the wall. And maybe I'll look at it a couple more times in the first week or two, but then I've stopped after a while. I know that it's there, and if I know that it's there and I'm not looking at it, I'm probably not doing it either. Right?
Yeah.
So how will we reference these in meetings? And that's what I always ask them, to bring them to each meeting and say, let's take a look at this. How are we doing with these? And you don't have to go down each and every one of them, but where are we finding challenges? Are they all working? That kind of thing. And if they need to, like you said, it's a live document, right? So if they need to change it in the moment, change it.
Yeah. I've even heard where people assign a focus for a meeting and one person to actually observe that.
Yes.
So this meeting, we're going to really be focusing on I was going to say showing respect to each other when we know that you don't want to be saying that. You want to actually call out the behavior. So
Right.
whatever it is that we challenge assumptions maybe.
Right. Or
And-
listen for understanding instead of to argue. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you assign one person in the meeting to be noticing and taking notes about that. And then you talk about it at the end, and they can sort of bring up, here's the specific examples that I saw. I've also seen that done with an outside person who comes in to do a little bit of an audit of the group. It can be a coach or somebody that is a trusted partner to the group. And they give feedback. Well, here's where I saw that you guys did really well, and here's a couple of areas what you might want to think about. And they can give those specific examples, which is really helpful.
Well, and that actually takes care of more than one thing. Then it's like bringing some awareness, but it's also tasking the people in the room to actually think about it.
Yeah.
Follow what you said was important.
Yeah. And then I think it's important with this number 6 about agreeing on the use is to know that we are human, and then we're not always going to get it right. So having a conversation about what do we do to repair that?
Right.
What's our expectation? Are we going to draw it out in the meeting? Are we going to do that outside the meeting? So we're expecting people to just talk one-on-one. What do we do to repair when we don't? We know we're not showing up, or we might not even know it ourselves. We might not have seen it, but somebody else notices. So maybe they were impacted by it. So how do we deal with those situations? Because it's real.
It is. And I think a part of most of these lists that people are making up, there should be something in there that captures that. Like, when do we need to give grace? When do we need to give grace, but not forever? That's the one thing is you can't just say, well, give me grace. I'm just having a bad day. And, 2 years later, they're still getting grace for it. And that doesn't always work. But I think, the first time makes sense. Maybe even the second time. But the third time sounds like a pattern,
Yes.
So,
yeah, for sure. We don't want to be repeating those mistakes.
No.
Yeah. And then the last one is activate and revisit, which is a little bit of what we were just talking about. Making sure we do put them in a place that is visible. We don't have to be diving for them. It's like, oh, yeah, we're going to do the review, our quarterly review of our working guidelines. What are they? Where's that file?
Bring them to your staff meetings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's great.
And then we kind of talked about this earlier in the podcast, but update them as the team evolves. So when people leave and people come back, the whole dynamic shifts. And so it's important to revisit these when that happens.
There are teams that are in build mode, in some organizations where right now maybe they've taken on a new process, or they're taking on new projects that are going to involve more people, and it may take a little time to hire everybody. But I would say as a leader, I would want to maybe say, okay, for this whole month, or we're going to be hiring like 10 new people, or this quarter, and have a quarterly meeting and allow people some time to get on board before you have this kind of a meeting. You don't want to do it on day one, because I don't care about what anybody says. I would be so intimidated if I was on day one and you asked me what I think would be a good thing for us to focus on, because it makes me feel like I'm a team member. It's like, I don't know any of these people. I need to know where the lunchroom is first.
Yes. So we've had fun here with kind of unpacking a little bit of what Julie brought us in that last episode. And if you haven't heard that episode, we really encourage you to go back and to listen. There's just so many amazing nuggets in there. And
it was a lovely
episode. Really
episode.
helped people.
I really loved it. In fact, I write a lot of the show notes in.
Yeah.
I always have to listen to the podcast the day that I'm writing them so that I don't forget stuff. And I listened to that thing. I had to go back and listen to a portion of it because my ear hears things a little bit slower, I guess. I don't know. And she speaks a little faster than I'm used to. But wow, it was amazing. I went back and listened to a portion of it a third time, but I went to just listen to the podcast second time, or after having recorded it. And I loved it. I loved her energy. I thought what she was saying was so spot on. And I think that the conversation flowed really well for us. I felt like I left that conversation feeling a lot more informed about respect and the value of curiosity and giving grace, but not, but really focusing on what is important for others.
Yeah.
And what's important to me, right?
Right. Yeah. So before we go, we invite you to pause for just a moment. This is one of those new things that we're doing with the podcast. And ask yourself, what spark was lit for me today? And where can I take one small, meaningful action? And as you know, this year, our focus is clear. It's on light the spark, ignite genuine hope, and lead the change. Because hope isn't passive. It's something we practice through intentional everyday choices. Leadership begins when we take what resonates and allow it to shape how we show up for others. And so our one challenge to you is to either go in and take the assessment, yes. Go to the website, do the free assessment, and have a conversation with somebody about it. Have them do it too. And then if that doesn't resonate with you, how about try something with the working guidelines? Even if you have them in your group, maybe it's a good time to revisit it and make sure that you guys, everybody on your team is really feeling good about how do we work when we're really working and jiving well. And once you've done that, we encourage you to go in and share you can go to either the Instagram or the Facebook or LinkedIn post, any of the social media, and to let us know how it went. We're curious about what's resonating with you, what's lighting your spark.
So go on the Lifting Leaders podcast social media sites.
Yes.
And just tell us how it's resonating. We'd love to know. We'd love to know because that also informs us going forward.
Yeah. And you can leave comments also, like if you're listening on Apple or Spotify or other platforms, they give you a place to actually write comments. Mm-hmm. And so you can write your comments there too. And so if this episode resonated with you, share it on your social media so the spark can travel even farther. We hope you'll keep listening because we have more exceptional podcast episodes coming up with more fantastic guests. So be sure to subscribe to Lifting Leaders Podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. If you're looking for help in developing your leaders or would like a growth opportunity yourself, please contact us through our website at www.liftingleaderspodcast.com. Thank you to Ari Chance Roberts for his technical support of our show. Finally, please take 30 seconds to follow us. It helps you because you never miss an episode, and it helps us because you never miss an episode. To follow us, go to the Lifting Leaders Podcast Show on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Then just tap the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner or click on follow. While you're there, if you'd be willing to give us a 5-star rating and review and share the episode with a friend, we'd be so grateful. Thank you, Trisha, this was really a fun episode.
It was. I loved it.
Yeah. And thanks for sharing the outcome of your assessment.
Thank you, and thank you for doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's a great conversation. Many thanks to you, our listeners. We appreciate you. Until next time, keep lifting leaders.
Take care.